Thanks everybody for taking the time to watch the film. It was very exciting to have so many people on the stream, and we're also very excited to have such an awesome panel assembled to talk and about suicide prevention and about the film and about some of the awesome work that's happening in Nevada and beyond. One of the really great things and real reasons why we wanted to make this film was to do just this and spark conversations about suicide prevention and hopefully encourage more people to get involved, to create more awareness, and to have discussions like this after the films, to use the film as a spark to create more suicide prevention awareness and activities and all those kind of good things. So my name is Greg Dicharry. I am the director and producer of the film. This young lady you might recognize from the film.
I'm Emma.
Hey, Emma. Nice to meet you.
I don't have a title like that. I'm just Emma.
It's just Emma. So we'll go ahead and give our esteemed panel. It's pretty awesome. We got some of the all-stars of suicide prevention in Nevada, and actually a couple from Utah as well. And so we're going to really have a great discussion about suicide prevention and helping young people find hope and helping us adults be able to support young people better. So we'll start with some little introductions, and if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself. And we'll start with Mr. Richard Egan there, who is I would say the godfather of suicide prevention in Nevada, just from my limited experience. But he's a man about town and really is does a ton for suicide prevention and a lot of other causes, and he's spent many years of service to our country as well. So Richard, would you like to tell the nice folks a little bit about yourself?
Of course, Greg. So I am Richard Egan, Office of Suicide Prevention for the state of Nevada. I'm actually a team of 5 individuals across the state of Nevada that do what we do. I take care of the 4 lower counties: Clark County, Lincoln County, Nye County, and Esmeralda. These 4 counties down in the southern part of Nevada. And then I also have a counterpart, Jeanette Masolo. She does what I do, but she does it in the north. We have Misty Allen, who is our amazing leader. We have Angela, who is our office manager. And we also have Sherilyn, who takes care of Zero Suicide Initiative in our hospitals and behavioral hospital systems. I've been doing this work for the state of Nevada for a little over 8 years. I worked for the Department of Family Services for 2 years. I was in the military for 26 years. And I'm just glad to be here because we are making a difference. And Emma, I just want to say thank you for what you brought to our country and bringing to your age group to say that there is hope and help out there.
Thank you for that. Thank you for what you've done in your service. Thank you for your service.
Awesome. And this next young man you might have recognized from the film. He played a crucial role and really this, we had met at a American Association of Suicidology conference kind of a little bit before we were doing this film, and me and him talked, and I really loved the name of his organization and what they were doing, and had no idea that that might come full circle. And so when Em and I started working together, I mentioned the Hope Squad to her, and she really liked it, and that was kind of the genesis of what you saw in the film. But Dr. Greg Hudnall, would you care to introduce yourself, please, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Greg, and Emma. Always a pleasure, and it was emotional seeing it again. I'm sure as it was for you. And hats off to my esteemed colleagues, Richard, of course, what you do, and Sydney, the things that you're doing as a student, and of course Taryn, one of my colleagues in Utah. So I'm the executive director, founder of Hope Squad, school-based program that's in elementary, middle school, and high schools. And this next month we'll hit close to 1,000 schools around the country in Canada. So it's not us, it's the young people, because we know that kids talk to kids, and the more that we can educate them on being the eyes and ears of a school and in a community, the more we know we can get them help. So Greg, thank you for an amazing movie and for a presentation and for your hard work with this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And next up, we probably saw in the film that we featured one of the scenes, which was at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention walk here in Louisiana in Baton Rouge, and that was coordinated by Mr. Bubba Randall, who you also saw in the film of the scene with the radio station. A man that Taryn knows well, and she's the area director for Nevada and for Utah for American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We're grateful that she's here with us as well. Taryn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for having us. And yes, shout out to Bubba Randall. I hope you're watching. I the post, of course, while that was going. It's an honor to be here with you all tonight, and just thank you to everybody who's participated in this effort. I do live in Utah. I came across the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention after we lost our dad to suicide back in 2002. And, it was something in my family that we just didn't talk about. It wasn't until I started advocating for my dad that I finally opened up and shared my own experience of suicide attempts as a teenager and what that was like. And so again, Emma, hats off to you. It takes courage to tell these stories, but it is so important. And I just want to add what John Draper said in that film. We need to share the stories of hope and recovery because they exist too. Well, yes, every life lost to suicide is tragic, and I've lived that tragedy. There are so many who go on to survive and thrive, and we want to focus on that. Please, if you're struggling, find that person you can tell. I've loved working with Greg Hudnall in our state. My daughter served on the Hope Squad at Pleasant Grove Junior High School and at the high school as well. And what a neat experience, for her. Because suicide was no stranger to our family. She had her own experience, and it's an S word that we talk about at our house. And so she could come to me and say, Mom, this is where my brain is at. And I don't want to do what it's telling me to do. And I'm grateful for that. So just again, thank you so much for the conversation that was had tonight and for the work that each of you do. It really is an honor to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Miss Darlene, I see your name there. Are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great. Would you?
My name is Darlene. I'm a survivor. My granddaughter, who I raised from the time she was 2, committed suicide in October. This was an awesome film. I've watched it twice. And it just brought everything back. Makes me want to go and talk to somebody. You're doing an amazing thing, honey. I see Angel's story. I heard it all over the place tonight through you and through some of these other young people. Things that I have found that she wrote that I had no idea that she was feeling. And I wish she had felt that she could have gone to somebody, but she didn't. She hid it so well. Always just the same as you, always smiling, always looking out for everybody else, worried that they were okay, and you're doing such important work, all of you. I never thought I'd be sitting here going through something like this. And honestly, I was never aware that suicide, the rates for suicide in young people were so high. I just wasn't. Maybe I've gotten a little old and lost a step. I don't know. I remember being a teenager. I've raised 5 of my grandchildren. I told them all the same thing. The teenage years are the hardest. They are the very hardest. And she had siblings that were so close in age, and they were all so close. And I always tried to tell them, talk to somebody, don't let things build up. But I guess she just didn't get it. But I'm so glad that you survived and you can go on to do some important work and help other people. I know you've already helped people. Your stories helped me.
Well, I really
Anyway.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't feel so alone.
I truly appreciate that's my goal with sharing my stories for people to
Yes,
get
and
feedback like you've given me. And I share my story for people like your loved one that you lost, like people that just didn't make it out to share their story. And
That's why I'm here tonight. I want to keep telling her story.
Yep.
So there's not such a stigma.
Yep.
You know, you have to be ashamed to say, my granddaughter died of suicide.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
nothing to be ashamed of.
I think it's just, I
Anyway.
don't know where it comes from, but there's like a fear around that word itself. Like
Yeah.
The word suicide just makes people shriek. And it's scary because, you know, being a teenager is extremely hard. Like, it's extremely hard. I would go as far to say it's the hardest time of your life. And being scared of the word suicide, it doesn't help anything, because inevitably, like, sometimes our brains just tell us things that we don't really understand and that we don't really feel like we need to believe, but our brains are just telling us stuff. So that's why I'm so glad that, you know, your daughter, Taryn, thinks that it's okay to come to you and speak to you and just like say, hey, look, I have these thoughts and they're scaring me. I need to share them with you. That way you're aware of them just as much as I am. You know, just being okay with speaking about that topic is huge. And there's definitely a stigma around it, and we have some work to do, but I'm just trying to.
You know, I'll say one more thing and then I'll shut up. I didn't even remember this. I had an Uncle Tony who I was extremely close to, and he died when I was 16. And they all went to Arlington, my parents and aunts and uncles, and they never talked about it. Never would have really answered to me when I'd say, how did he die? And it turned out I didn't find out for years later that he died by suicide. He shot himself.
Mm.
And it was like they were ashamed to say that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's really one of our, you know, big focuses on, you know, on this and creating just more awareness. And I think in order to really, you know, it takes all awareness on all different kinds of levels. And that's really one of our big purposes of, you know, this film, is to try to create more awareness and make people, you know, more aware of not only what people like Emma and other young people go through, but what family members and loved ones, you know, go through when they're, you know, losing a loved one to suicide, or just in supporting someone that may be, you know, suicidal or dealing with depression and anxiety. But a big focus is, you know, is on young people and, you know, empowering young people. As you know, in the film, Emma was 16 at her attempt, and that's, you know, one of our big focuses. And Taryn mentioned John Draper earlier. Another thing that he really says is, you know, is something to the effect of, you know, the real, if we're going to make a big difference, we really need to start empowering young people to make a difference, and empowering young people to get involved. And that's really the kind of, you know, the magic, so to speak. And we definitely agree with that. And that's one of the real kind of themes of the film. And so we're very excited. There's an awesome organization that some of you may know of, Hope Means Nevada, that does a lot of amazing work around suicide prevention and various different programs for youth. They do a big, huge festival. And one of the really cool things, you know, I had Sierra, who was involved with, you know, helping support this through Hope Means Nevada, and who had asked her to be on the panel. And she said, you know what, I would rather one of our young people be on the panel, because and that's just a great, you know, kind of gives me tingles and chills, because, you know, that, you know, people really want to empower young people, that Hope Means Nevada is really committed to that. So we're very excited to have Sydney here. Sydney, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Sydney Yee, and I'm a 10th grader at Bishop Gorman and part of Hope Means Nevada, which is a growing group of students and like leaders. We're all working together to spread the message of hope and preventing suicides, and just reaching out to each other and really acting as a friend and spreading the word to each other that we're all there for each other, even during times such as like COVID, where we all might feel isolated, and that there's always going to be someone there for you, even if you're feeling alone.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'll just tell you a little bit more about myself. I'm not a full-time filmmaker. With my day job, I work for a company, Magellan Health, and oversee a youth program I started back in 2008 called My Life. But it's a youth empowerment program that you know, works with young people who have experience with things like mental health, substance use, foster care, juvenile justice. And a big part of it is empowering them to share their stories to bring about change, not only for themselves, but for their peers, or to advocate to bring about change in general. So this is something I'm very, very passionate about, and had an opportunity to do a film with the guy, Kevin Hines, who many of you may know, the suicide prevention superstar. And that was called Suicide: The Ripple Effect. And in the lead up to the premiere of that, I discovered Emma, my sister, had come across her online. It was about 8 months after her attempt, and she had started a blog, and sister had come across her, and we connected, and I asked her to be on the panel for the premiere. And 3 years later, we ended up finishing a movie together. So we're excited about that, and excited about this opportunity. Emma, did you want to introduce yourself a little further and tell kind of what you're doing now?
Yeah, so Greg gave a little background on how we met and got connected, and that's kind of like how I got plugged into the world of suicide prevention. And it really wasn't up until my own suicide attempt that I really became aware, and my eyes were really open to this entire world, which is so crazy, because you would think, something as serious and as big as this, everyone would know about it, but I didn't know anything about it. So yeah, so I met with Greg, and like I said, didn't know much about anything revolving suicide prevention, or really anything about mental health at all. And he kind of took me on this journey to learn, and I became extremely passionate about it. And the number one thing that kept me driven the whole time to keep sharing my story was the response that I get each time that someone hears my story or sees the film. Is the response that I get is just incredible. And people always have really encouraging responses, and they make me feel like what I'm doing is help them in a way. So that makes it all worth it to me. Because, as Taryn was saying, it's not an easy thing to relive some of your darkest times in your life. But I choose to do it willingly because of the benefit that it has for other people. And I've become really passionate about spreading hope for young people, because it's a trend that young people are struggling now more than ever because of COVID and all that stuff. So it's my privilege and an honor, honestly, to be able to have such an impact on so many lives and so many people.
So speaking of young people, Miss Sydney, I wonder if you would kind of, being that we're focused on the Nevada area, and there's been a lot of talk, and we see in the press a lot around the suicides in the Nevada area, in the Las Vegas area, Clark County. From your perspective, what do you see young people facing in the area, and what do you with your peers, or maybe things that you face, particularly now with COVID and everything? What are some of the things you've seen?
Well, with COVID and everything happening, I've seen a change in how people have acted. I've gone through friends. I've realized who's really there for me through COVID, which is a blessing, but also it's been hard to find people to reach out to. And I understand as a teen that we need to keep reaching out and keep giving love to others, and just understanding that we're not going through this alone, and this isolation sucks, but if we work together, I know we can get through it. And just keep giving hope, spreading hope, and doing the initiative, which is Spread to 5 or Talk to 5 initiative, for which Hope Means Nevada offers, where you just talk to 5 people, reach out to 5 people and just check up on them on a personal level, and just kind of make sure their mental health is good and just they're doing all right.
Awesome.
I like that.
Very cool. So Richard, you're on the front lines of suicide prevention there in Nevada, around the state, and we had a little conversation. Sometimes things grab headlines, and how this whole event, this Nevada event came to be, is I had seen the article in the New York Times that came out a month or so ago, and right around that time, Dennis James, who you saw do the intro to the film, had reached out of Restored Spirits Ministries, and he had been on my email list, and he just reached out and said he was interested in the film, and we started talking, and I said, well, let's try to put something together and see if we can get some other people involved that might want to support and be a part of this. And thankfully he knew Richard, and so we had a conversation, and very grateful Richard and the Office of Suicide Prevention came on board to support this. But we had a conversation, Richard. I know we had talked a little bit about sometimes, believe it or not, things that are printed or in the media aren't 100% accurate or don't give the full sort of picture. But would you kind of paint the picture of suicide prevention in Nevada and the kind of current states of things with young people and what's going on?
Absolutely. So in the Office of Suicide Prevention, we are on the front lines across the whole state, paying attention to what's going on, helping organizations become suicide safer. So one thing we have to do is maintain a visual on what's going on. And that visual is very much accurate, meaning that we are paying attention to what's going on in our state in almost real time. And so what was happening in our state was recognized early on. So over the past year, COVID-19 and 2020, we had a full reduction of about 4.5% in the state of Nevada. And so we were on track for a low year in suicides for our state. And we were hoping to move into away from number one, and we're currently at number 8. And so, 7, we just dropped in 2019. So watching it, we had that small reduction for all of 2020. Where did it come from? It's with my adults, 25 to 64. And those adults, we had a 10% reduction. Our elderly 65 and above pretty much stayed even, but we have identified absolutely our youth and our young adults increased about 25% over the year of 2020. But paying attention to what's going on brought all of that information out very quickly. Between the Office of Suicide Prevention and Clark County School District, we work very close together to identify what's going on out there so that we can see what's going on and be able to move resources to the appropriate place in the whole state. And that's what we did in a very quick manner to be able to counteract what was going on out there. I am still concerned with COVID-19 and a lot of things that are going on with job loss and things like that for my 25 to 64-year-olds. But from the Office of Suicide Prevention, we will help any organization become suicide safer. It doesn't matter if you're faith-based or a casino or a construction industry, a school, it doesn't matter. We will sit next to you, sit down with you, and examine how we can help that organization or that profession become suicide safer. And with Greg's work, we brought Hope Squad to many of our schools in Clark County. And then COVID-19 hit, so it made it a little bit more difficult. But Greg, I'll tell you, those schools are all for it right now. Clark County School District, by middle of April, should have schools open, and we should be moving into some other realms to bring what we were doing before COVID to fruition to help keep the suicide rate low amongst many of our age groups. The good thing is, typically, the state of Nevada is about 24th or 25th in the nation when it comes to our youth suicides. And we've done great work in that area, and we will continue to look at what's going on, pay attention, and bring those things to those different age groups that are going to make a difference.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Greg, will you talk a little bit? You mentioned you and the Hope Squad, but I mean, what's the kind of the magic of, you talk about like the magic of the peers, and like in your experience, what is that about? Why does that work so well?
Well, Gregor, I see a couple of things. There is no doubt, just like what Richard mentioned, that the COVID-19 is the social
You okay?
social distancing
You okay,
is really
Evans?
causing a social
Yeah.
isolation.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Thanks for asking. But you know, that social isolation, you know, we distance ourselves 6 feet. We wear the mask, like Sydney said, and you know, I was walking down the street the other day, and by a really dear friend of mine, we both had masks on. We didn't even recognize each other. We passed each other, then we stopped, kind of looked back, and went, "Holy mackerel!" And then we started talking to each other. You know, the magic pixie dust of the Hope Squad is the young people. Kids talk to kids, just like what Emma was talking about in the show, that she was hiding. You know, Emma, as you were talking about hiding things from your parents. By the time you reach middle school, it's more important to have a friend than it is to belong to a family. Now, us parents have a hard time believing that. But then when you look at the challenges and, you know, what Darlene and other people talked about of how difficult school is, there's a great author that said, we spend the second half of our lives trying to get over the first half. And that first half is really in school. And, you know, the interesting thing, Greg, is that suicides have actually leveled off, if not gone down a little bit during COVID, because what's happened is families have reconnected. They're having meals together. They're watching films. They're talking. They're eating. They're doing things together. The challenge, though, is those that were struggling before COVID now has intensified. And those are the challenges that we're seeing because they're not getting those connections like Sydney was talking about. They're not getting that support and that help that they really, really need. And the research now is showing anxiety, depression, referrals to emergency rooms and for help has gone over the top. And so, you know, for us, the Hope Squad, young people are trained to be the eyes and ears of the school. They're trained to be those individuals that can reach out to friends. I have a colleague that Taryn and I highly respect, Dr. Doug Gray, child psychiatrist, but he says that you can have 100 kids referred to the school counselor with some form of suicidal ideation, meaning they want to harm themselves, they're struggling or whatever. He says 97 of them would never need to talk to a professional if they just had a friend to reach out to. And that's what I think the example that Sydney is to all of us. She's that level of friend, and we saw it in the video, Emma, with those young people that you were working with, that they want to be those friends. And so what the Hope Squad does is it empowers, it trains them on boundaries, on self-care, when to go to an adult, but really they become the eyes and ears of the school and the eyes and ears of the community. We've had now over 5,000 kids referred for help and over 1,000 hospitalized because of these young people every single day get out of bed thinking, how can I help a friend? You know, can I smile? Can I open a door? Can I sit by them at lunch? What is it that I can do that will empower them to know that I really do care about them and that they're not a project? Because no one wants to be a project. Everybody needs a friend. And that's what Hope Squad does.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Miss Taryn, would you talk a little bit more about your passion for suicide prevention and your experience, if you're comfortable with some of your lived experience, and then also kind of some of the work that AFSP does? I think a lot of people hear the walks, but might not know of some of the other stuff that y'all do.
Yeah. Well, the Out of the Darkness walk by far is my fave, only because it's my baby. And we have walks all across the state from other organizations, right? Richard's group does a walk each year too, the coalition, and Greg, they do a Hope Walk down in Provo. And, you know, it's about coming together and being connected. I mean, that is the theme here. If we could give one anecdote to suicide, it's connection. When we feel a part of, that you see me, that I matter, that somebody cares what I'm doing or what I'm going through, you know, that gives us purpose. And, you know, in my experience as a teenager, you know, I had endured a lot of things as a young kid, you know, sexual trauma and abuse, and I didn't tell. And that's the other thing that I think is part of our society that just has to change, is we have to quit hiding and keeping things to ourselves because we think, well, nobody would understand or nobody else is going through this. Every time, if we, you know, and Emma, you talked about this, the reaction you get. I thing when I share my story, because what people do is they go, oh my gosh, you too?
Yeah.
Wow, oh, wow, you did that too? And some of us did it worse.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, that's what people connect with, is they go, wow, okay, so I can talk about this.
Yeah.
When we lost our dad, that was the focus for me, was, please, can we have this conversation? You know, we all knew our dad was struggling. We didn't know how to help him. I knew he was going to die from suicide. I just didn't know what to do, but I know what to do now. And so because it ran in my family, because it's a family history plays a role, Darlene spoke of having that in her family, I knew that my kids had to understand. And unfortunately, my kids also grew up helping at the walk. So all of their friends call me the suicide prevention lady, but that's okay. They also know that this was a place they could come and be safe. And they could tell me, whatever it was, because sometimes that's all we need, is that person just to hear us. And so what AFSP helps me to do is, one, get educated, right? We needed to learn the warning signs for suicide, the same way we all know them for heart attack, stroke, and other, health conditions. Suicide's a health issue. So we want our community to talk about it like one and know it the same way, rather than waiting until it happens for us to go, oh my gosh, we need to do something. No, let's do it now. Let's learn now. I also was a teenager that had to do many a no suicide contract, right? Where I would sign a paper that would promise not to kill myself. That's the best we had back then. Or today we have safety plans, we have tools. And why do we wait until we're in a moment of crisis to have a safety plan? Everybody should have a safety plan. Anybody watching tonight should go home and Google safety plan, Stanley Brown, the My3 app. Create a plan for, who are you going to call? Who are you going to talk to when life comes down and goes ugh to you? Because we all need to have that person. And that's what AFSP helped me, kind of learn how to do. And then obviously just connect and support people. We offer outreach visits to those who've lost loved ones. We're providing training now on how to help families who've been affected by somebody who's had an attempt. My family didn't know how to help me. When they didn't talk to me after I'd come out of the hospital for my, umpteenth attempt, it was radio silence, not because they didn't care. Like you said, Emma, right? They didn't know how to say the word suicide. So we got to figure out a way to make it okay to talk about. But talking is the key part, because talking really does help save lives.
Thank you. So a question for Emma and then Sydney is, what can older folks do, like the rest of us on the call, to like support young people? Or what would you be advised for, whether it be parents or people that maybe are teachers at schools, or people that want to help but they don't quite maybe know what the best way to support young people is? What would y'all say is
we just got our answer. She just gave it to us. It just put in the work and do the research, teach yourself, educate yourself on these things. There's so many different resources out there that are like easily accessible and at our fingertips, to just like educate yourself on what, a struggling teenager might look like, or, what some warning signs might be, and different ways you can approach your teen. And I think too, something that could be really helpful for parents is just kind of viewing your teen as like a human too. I know sometimes it's hard because you know them as your child, your son, your daughter, and we know you as your mom or dad, but we're all human beings. So we have thoughts just like you have thoughts. So kind of get on our level and like just talk to us like, we're human beings just like you, who want to be heard. And another very important thing that I would, definitely like to share that I think is very useful is to not casting judgment too, because that's another thing that I know a lot, like I know I struggle with, was the shame factor of people, or me assuming that people would, judge me or think I was weak or think that I was, being over dramatic or, creating these like making up problems just to have attention or, any of the sort like that. I was afraid of the judgment. So that's one of the reasons why I never spoke up about my struggles and the things that I was actually thinking about. So definitely just listen without judgment. And I'm sure you'll get a lot more
I made it in.
out of out of someone if you just cast no judgment and just get on their level.
Awesome. What about you, Sydney?
I agree with what Emma was saying about how you should identify and just research, make sure you know what you're doing and connect with your team, make sure there's no judgment and you're open with them, because sometimes if you're judgmental, it closes you off. Like personally, like sometimes when I like talk to a friend or open up with them, if they're being judgmental or just not being very like understanding, then it feels like you have to close off because it feels like you're not safe talking to that person.
Yeah.
So honestly, I feel like, yeah, it's the environment you create for them
Yeah, it's
to
like
like
a protective
make-
mechanism that you like kind of go into whenever you feel like that you're being judged like by someone. I know that's how I am. I know like that's majority of like people in my age range are like, I don't know, just like if you feel like you're being perceived the wrong way or what you're trying to get across is not being like received well, or you're feeling judged, you immediately, or at least from my experience, I know a lot of others will just like shut down, which is what we don't want to do.
Yeah, same with me. Honestly, it's just want to make sure you have an open environment and talk with your team, let them like reach out to you, like make sure it's like a good environment for just talking it out with them and understanding their situation, trying to make it better as much as you can.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And is what can young people do? We'll stick with you there, Sydney. What can young people do that if they want to make a difference and try to, help their peers or prevent suicides? What would your advice?
Yeah, I feel like as a teen, just reaching out to friends, talking to friends, like even if it's just like, oh, do you want to FaceTime as we do our homework together, just to have someone there, maybe to talk about your day, or plan a hangout to get to see someone or FaceTime them, just to make that connection and to show them that you care and you want to be there for them. I feel like that really makes a difference. Just being able to show that you're a friend to them and you're there to listen to them if they ever need anything for you.
Awesome. Miss Darlene, are you still with us? Maybe.
Thank you, ever.
No, I don't think that she might have herself on mute. But so Richard, what do we you work in Nevada, but you also do a lot of work nationally. I mean, what do we need to do? Dr. Greg had a great line in the film when he says, this is not a school issue. This is a community issue. This is all our issue. I mean, what do we need to do to create more awareness, you think? And this will be a question to all you guys, but to create more awareness and to get society in general to care more about suicide prevention.
I can put it in 2 words: connectiveness matters. And when you say connectiveness matters, it's in the family, it's in the neighborhood, it's in the schools, it's in your work, it's in your whatever environment you're in. Take people for who they are and ask them sometimes when they seem a little bit off, is there something I can do for you? And if we would do this more as a society, we would build that connectiveness between us, because we have so many things going on in our society that is causing isolation. And so, for instance, social media, and Sydney, please jump in, and Emma, because social media can be used to benefit connectiveness, absolutely. But it can also cause isolation if it's not used effectively. And I think, Emma, you pointed to a little bit of that in your film with one of the other individuals. Would you share that aspect of what's going on with social media that can have the negative side of it?
Yeah, for sure. So it's honestly like such a small thing. But I know that we, in our generation, the younger generation, we compare ourselves to everything, to everyone, all the time. We're always in a mode of comparison. And social media is a platform where you can share whatever you want. So I'm not going to share me waking up when I just wake up in the morning. I'm going to share when I'm all put together and pretty, right? So they're seeing the best of the best, but they're only seeing like a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of your life, you know? So, but whenever you're looking on your little bitty phone screen, like just scrolling and you're seeing all these people with these like aesthetically pleasing Instagrams and they seem like they have all their life together and they're all, you know, everything on it just, it's a beautiful disaster. It's like a perfect recipe for like the ultimate like comparison. And like it just robs you of all your joy because you just waste all your energy like thinking you think yourself into a hole of like comparing yourself. And that's not good for anyone's mental health to constantly be comparing themselves and their life to someone else. Because we're all on our own journey.
Excellent. Thank you, Emma. And the fact that the social media platforms try to make it addictive is kind of scary. Sydney, give your 2 cents, and then I'm going to bring Greg because Greg has a big piece of this connectiveness matters.
So about like the negatives of social media. Well, like, yeah, how Emma was saying, like, it really kind of made me realize, yeah, it is kind of just the perfect part of your life that you post. Like, even in my life, I don't post often. I'm very judgmental to like about what I want people to see, you know, like how you want to make out to be. And that isn't like how it should be. Like, I feel like social media should be a freer place to like be how you want to be. And I feel like some people have tried like making it like that, either with casual Instagram or just posting whatever you look like just to show like, yeah, this is me. And if you don't like it, then you can unfollow. And and I feel like social media just creates jealousy also, like when you see other people out and just kind of a toxic environment sometimes with that aspect.
Well, it's like if you don't get invited to something, like you have to see it. Like it's different these days than it was whenever it was when y'all were like young and stuff and you wouldn't get invited, you wouldn't know about it, you know, unless you go to school and like you hear about it in the hall, like you wouldn't know about it. Now, oh my God, you can't not know about it. Like you cannot not know about it. And like the people are mean, like people are mean. And so like, I know from my experience, like I've had people in high school, they would intentionally like put stuff together and purposely not include me because they knew I would see it and like just to hurt me. And like people are like that. And social media is a great tool for them to use whenever they want to be malicious and stuff like that. And that can really get to someone. And yeah, but it can also be used for good too. And like she was saying, I think we're slowly, I mean, we have some work to do, but I think slowly and surely, like we're working on it. Like we're working our way to normalizing normal life and like being more accepting of like the reality of life and people's realities. And it's not all the glitz and glam and everything's perfect. I think that we're kind of slowly transitioning into that, which is good. But
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Sydney. Now, Greg, what I'm seeing with Hope Squad, and we have a special guest that came into the Zoom room, a young man named Christian, and we're going to get to him in a minute. But Greg, Hope Squad counteracts this social media isolation factor because in Hope Squad, it's one-on-one. You might see some things on social media that draws your attention to go talk to another youth, but you want them to go talk in person. You want them to have that interaction. You want them to have connectiveness, and that's what you promote. And that, I think, is so important in our environment.
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing, and that's, Richard, I think what we struggle a little bit with is for 100 years, we've told people in our mental health world, or even in our world of pain and other things, if you're hurting, let me know and I'll get you help. But people that are hurting don't want others to know. they are embarrassed, they're ashamed, there's multiple factors. Taryn shared her story about her father and family and other things. Then you add stigma to it. And all of a sudden, boy, I'm not going to talk about it. Everyone will think I'm crazy. But what we do is try to break that cycle. We try to train Hope Squad members that we don't wait for you to come to us, we come to you. So you hit it right on the head, Richard, so that when I see that post, then all of a sudden I'm walking over there saying, Sydney, I read this. Are you okay? I'm worried about you. I walked into a Hope Squad and it was Taryn. It was actually Pleasant Grove. And I walked in and they were showing pictures up on the wall of the students. What most people don't understand is that educators, kids, school yearbook pictures are taken in September, but they're not given out till May or June. But us educators have access to them. And so this amazing Hope Squad advisor, I walked in and they were putting pictures of the students up on the wall. And she said, okay, everybody, this is Sally. I want you to close your eyes, picture Sally in your mind. And then she'd go on to the next student. And afterwards I walked up and I said, what are you doing? And she said, our Hope Squad members wanted to memorize the names of every young person in the school. And I agreed to do it if they put their phones away during break and during lunch. And she said, now these young people are walking down the hallways going, hey, Sydney, hey, Mike, hey, Richard, hey, Taryn. And the other kids are going, how do they know my name?
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's really cool.
But isn't that amazing? Our state superintendent was down in southern Utah and she's up on a second floor looking out over this huge lunchroom. And she turns to the principal and she goes, my goodness, no one's eating alone. And she said, yeah, I know. Our Hope Squad took it on. No child eats alone in our school. So if anybody walks out by themselves, a Hope Squad member goes and introduces himself. It's exactly what it is, Richard. It's the connectedness. And what the Hope Squad does, I think a principal said it best, Tim Brantley. He said, thank you for giving us permission to talk about it. And thank you for giving us permission to learn how to be friends again, because I think we've lost that with social media.
Yeah, for sure.
So our special guest here is actually from Nevada. His name is Christian, and he went to Misty in the healthy Zoom room and got into our Zoom room with us because Emma, you moved him. And so Christian, with the permission of your father's there someplace, right? Tell us what you do with the Hope Squad and where you're from. And then, of course, I think you had a question for Emma.
Wait a minute, Christian, you're a Hope Squad member?
He is.
Wow.
You're my hero tonight.
Mine too. That's awesome.
Dr. Hudnall, you actually came and spoke in a Google Meet, Coach Dent, which I gotta say was an honor. But so Hope Squad is new to Spring Valley. And as soon as it became an opportunity, I automatically knew that I wanted to be a part of it. So I applied in the little thing. And as soon as I saw that I was accepted, I was jumping in joy.
That's awesome.
But with the current situation, there's not a lot of contact between students. A lot of people don't turn on the cameras, don't participate in class. And I don't personally go out a lot, so it's not like I can kind of, really see or get in contact with people. So that leads to my question, what can I do more to help out, not even just my school, but my community, if I'm not really getting that contact?
I'll respond. Emma, you can jump in. But first of all, Adam Gent, who is your advisor, is phenomenal. And the first thing I would want to do, Christian, is to reach out to him. I know many of the advisors know of students that are struggling, and they can give you names that you can reach out to. So that would be the first thing. When I was a principal, I used to have 100 names of kids on my hit list. And of my hit list, 25 of them were kids that were just discipline problems. For 75 of them, I was worried about every week. Divorces in their family, homelessness, different things that they were being affected by that no one else knew. And so I would go to my counselors and ask, how can we help? And now we have counselors going to their Hope Squad, sharing that information. Why don't you reach out to Sydney? Why don't you reach out to Emma? Why don't you reach out to Taryn? And so that they know that someone cares about them, whatever. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would suggest is when you do go out, I promise you, the minute you walk out your door, you're going to find ways to make a difference in someone's life. Open a door, they drop a book, help them pick it up, saying hi. It's amazing what that does to individuals so that they don't feel invisible. And so I would really challenge you to look for ways. I challenge myself every day when I go out to do something, and I'm amazed at the number of times I go, why didn't I do that? I could have just done that. And then it's like, okay, I got to look for it, and I've got to consciously think about it. And so that's the challenge that I think that you could do. And now Emma and Sydney probably have a zillion other better ideas.
No, actually, you just gave like the perfect advice. Like, I totally agree. I mean, I didn't even know that it was set up like that with Hope Squad, but that's perfect direct answer right there. Is definitely reach out to him, because if he has anybody in mind that's in your community or that goes to your school that might be struggling, that'd be perfect for you, like opportunity for you to reach out and make that connection and just start that relationship. That would be my advice, honestly. And then too, I'm not sure what like the kind of stage y'all are in where you live with COVID and stuff, but I don't know, I just try to get out as much as possible. And whenever I do, just like Greg said, small things, opening the door, waving at someone, anything, like the smallest thing, it really does make you feel like you're like doing good, gives you a little bit of a sense of gratitude. And then also, you don't know what it's going to do for someone else. So definitely his advice is spot on. And I think, unfortunately, there's really, not much else, that there is to do other than that, just sticking your hand out and reaching out, trying to see what connections you can maybe form with people in your area. But Greg, you got something?
Well, and then also we're starting some stuff with the film in partnership with the Hope Squad. We're starting Ascend with Hope, which is kind of having people do videos and tell them about what, maybe challenges they've overcome and what gives them hope to rise. So we definitely would, love to get you involved in some of that kind of stuff. So be on the lookout for stuff coming your way through the Hope Squad.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
I think what we have to do is be innovative in how we connect with people. Think outside the box. Real life example, my 17-year-old came to me early on in the pandemic and says, I'm missing my friends. I said, okay, I got it. So why don't we set up a Zoom room for your lunchtime and tell me who your friends are and give me their addresses. And she did that in the morning time. And then at lunchtime, she opened up her Zoom room, and all her friends that she would normally sit with at lunch was in the Zoom room with her. And then also Subway sandwiches were delivered to all of their houses for their lunchtime. And that's what I mean. You just got to be innovative in how you connect with people. Think outside the box.
Cool
That's fun.
Cool Dad Award.
That's really fun.
All right, so we're kind of coming to the end of our hour, but wanted to just kind of give people a chance to make a little final closing statement, or if you had something to add related to the topic, or what's something you're thinking about from the film, or anything along those lines. If you wanted to say anything, Taryn, would you like to share something?
Sure. I just have loved this conversation, and Christian, you're right on the money, right? I think we all want that. And something I challenged myself to do this year too was really invest in the relationships I do have, because I was so right. I couldn't be out in the community like I was used to. I couldn't be tabling here and presenting here, but I really took time to invest in the people who matter the most to me. And instead of the text, making a phone call, right? Or FaceTiming. I am a believer in that we see people. And maybe that's because, again, of the experiences we've had. When you know that dark night of the soul, you don't ever want anyone else to feel that. And so I am that person. I'm annoying. Who knows this about me? I say hi to whoever. And I'll just tell a quick story, because this one really, really taught me, again, the value seeing. I was in the drive-through at the McDonald's, don't judge, getting my hot and spicy. Yeah, it's $1.17 and I pay in cash every time. Don't you worry, because I want to be in and out and quick. And as I pulled up to pay my money, the kid that opened the windows, probably in high school, really just kind of hefty guy and just, $1.16. I was like, ooh, here you go, right? And then I'm all, hey, how are you? And he took his arms in the drive-through window and went like this. And instantly I was like, oh crap, what do I do, right? And I'm like, well, you know what to do, just put your hand on him. So I put my hand on his arm and I just said, hey, breathe with me for a second. And I could feel his little body start to rattle with sobs. And after a second, he pulled up because he's like, oh gosh. I said, what's going on? And he just starts talking. Oh, I have all this homework that's due, right? I'm here working and I'm here till 9 o'clock at night. I have this big paper that's due tomorrow, blah, 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 right? He's just panicking. So I just listened. I said, well, when do you get a day off? Friday. Well, what are you going to do on your day off? I'm going to go fishing. I said, I think that sounds fun. And I remember it was a Wednesday. So of course I make the joke like, oh, it's hump day, right? We're halfway there. And smiles and laughs. And then, I said, are you okay? Do you want me to come in for a minute? No, my manager would be so mad. You can't do that. And I said, okay. Well, I just want you to know that I'm thinking about you. And I hope you get that assignment done and just thinking about you. And you know how many times I thought to go back to that silly McDonald's because I just wanted to know that kid was okay. I don't know. But, Christian, that's something that I think of all the time is we never know that impact that we have by just letting somebody be seen and just saying, hey, hi, right? Using their name. I always use people's names and I cheat. I look at their name tags, but you use their name and then they're like, oh, they said my name. If I'm at a Starbucks and what are your pronouns? Because I can tell, what do you want me to call you? I just think that it's seeing people. Seeing people makes all the difference. So I see each of you tonight. Thank you for seeing me and thank you for letting me be a part of this. This was incredible.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much. Dr. Greg.
Yeah, I'll just be quick. I think this is the year of self-care. It's BC before COVID and PC post-COVID, and we're going to get through this. But there's no doubt there are challenges. But even in our Hope Squads this year, Christian, we're really trying to focus on self-care. You can't help someone else until you've helped yourself, and you really need to take that time. I would do almost what Richard said. I would challenge you to bake some chocolate chip cookies and then find 5 people that you could drop them off to and just say, I hope you have a great day. It's amazing what that does, but we've got to take care of ourselves first, whether that's taking time to get outside, whether that's relaxing, whether that's talking to a professional. There's so many, different things that we can do to help ourselves, but we're not helping someone else unless we've helped ourselves. And so my message to everybody out there is we've got to take care of ourselves. This is a tough time, and don't think you're the only one struggling, because we all are. And I struggle. I work from home and I have to get out in the sun, go for a walk, and do things just so that I know that I can be okay. And so that's my message. And Emma and Gregory, I think you guys did a great job with that tonight. It really does give everybody hope. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So grateful for you being in the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Richard.
Yes, sir.
Do you have some parting thoughts or words for us?
It's going to take all of us. Whatever Nevada does, whatever Utah does, whatever Tennessee does, you're going to make an impact there. Share your successes with other places. The biggest thing that we need to share is where there is hope, there is help. If there's no hope, there's no help. And so events like this, people like this, we need to bring that forward. And Emma did that in an excruciating way that brought those emotions for the whole time. Sydney, what you do with Hope Means Nevada, Hope Means Nevada came to Nevada in a time that we really, really need them. Christian, you're in school, you have friends, reach out to them, connect with them, Let them know that they matter. And at the same time, you're going to get that feeling back from them. Taryn and Greg, what you do up in Utah is absolutely amazing. Greg, what you do around the world is absolutely amazing. We did a little bit of it in the state of Nevada with our Brookie Foundation in high schools, but you bring Hope Squad to the schools with a direction that people like Christian can get on board. And all of it builds connectiveness in our communities, in the different age groups. And I'll tell you, ultimately, that's what's making a difference. Remember, 2019, first year in a decade and a half, the nation's suicide rate went down. Not by much, it went down. That is something that we can hang our hats on. Even though COVID-19 gave us a speed bump in the road, it doesn't mean we stop. It doesn't mean we are not innovative in how we approach this. And so I want to thank everybody for bringing this to Nevada. I want to thank our young people for making a difference. I want to thank everybody that puts their foot forward in this, because we need an army to make a difference with this. Not one person, not one organization is going to be able to make a large impact, but all of us together will.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Well, very well said. Hey, Christian, what would you say is what, I mean, why are you committed to this and, you know, passionate about wanting to not only be a part of Hope Squad, but to make a difference like you're already doing?
I wish I kind of had a reason other than it just feels like the right thing to do. I mean, I was kind of told that I should join because it was kind of brought, to my attention. My friends were like, you're the one like that people come to, you're the one that, we talk to. And it's just something I do. I don't do it for credit or anything like that. I just do it. So when this came around, I knew that it was kind of something, that not only that I thought I had the responsibility to do, but something that I thought, that I would enjoy, and I do. And I'm definitely looking forward to being able to, with going back to school, even if it is slowly, it's still more than, it is now. And I'm looking forward to being able to do a lot more.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say to you is just like, have hope, because just look at life in like seasons. This is just a season and it'll pass. Things will go back to normal before you know it. So see the good in everything, and I think that's the coolest part about life is you get to pick what you see in every experience, and I choose to see the good in every experience. So like Greg said, this is a perfect time to focus on you. Ask yourself how you're doing, and keep yourself in check during this time, because this is a time where we're really just with ourselves a lot, but too try to connect with those people and come up with innovative ways to remain connected. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you, stay hopeful, because if you just look at it like life is seasons, you look at last season of life, it was much different than this one. This one looks different, so next one's gonna look different. And yeah, that's that.
Thank you. All right, Miss Sydney, do you have any thoughts or parting words of what you've kind of taken away from this, or what you're hoping to do in the future with Hope Means Nevada, etc.?
Yeah, this panel is like showed me a lot, like just talking to all of you guys. You guys are all so smart and intelligent and have done so much hard work, and I look up to it, and like I hope I can like do something like that and be a big influence one day to people and like give them hope, because I feel like it's just really important to reach out. And Christian, as Richard was talking about reaching out for lunch. When I was online, that's what I would do too. I'd call my close friends and we just talk all lunch and then we go to our classes after. And it was something small, but it was good to reach out. Like it was fun to talk to my friends, even if it was for a short time. And like during quarantine, I feel like although we were isolated, it really helped me find my true friends and just like helped like improve self-care. Like I needed to find motivation, like made me realize like what I should do in life, like, and reaching out to others a lot during this time, like making sure no one feels alone. And we really need to stick with each other during this time. And Emma's story was really inspiring to me. Like the documentary, it was so good. I was like, whoa, you went through such a journey.
Yeah.
You really like, yeah, it taught me to appreciate everything, like even the little things in life. It just like goes to show you just need to appreciate everything and like take everything like a day at a time.
Yep.
So thank you.
I'm so glad you got that from it. That makes me so happy. I'm really glad that you got that from them, because from my film, because that's exactly what I want to portray. That's the message I want to portray. So I'm so happy.
Thank you so much.
Yes, of course.
Any
Absolutely.
final message from you, Emma? Words?
No. I think I've said plenty, but it's always fun connecting with people that are, you know, the targeted audience. So people around my age. I love it.
Well, thanks everybody. I wanted to thank our esteemed panelists. This was really awesome. As I said from the beginning, you know, our big focus of making the film is wanting to really spark conversations and spark more awareness and hopefully enhance suicide prevention efforts in different communities and just inspire people to get involved. So I think it's cool that we had some folks on here being inspired, and hopefully we have a lot of people who are watching be inspired, and know we kind of all gain some education by just the awesome panelists that we've had here. And so just want to thank everybody who took the time to watch the film, and to all of our partners and all of our panelists here. And, you know, this is really just the beginning. We just love people's support and help, and helping this film reach more people so that, you know, we can have more discussions like this around the country and around the world. So, so thank you. And we'll see you again sometime real soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Have an amazing night, everyone.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.
Nice to see all
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.